Welcome everyone to Wednesday's virtual staff room. I'm delighted to invite and welcome Tom Freeney from Meetoo with us today, and he's going to talk to us about the Meetoo app and mental health issues in school. Thanks very much for coming, Tom, and over to you.
Thank you for having me. So coming up on your screens now should be some slides. Bit of background on myself before I hop in. I've been working with Meetoo since 2017. I was a science teacher in a secondary school, and I've worked as a governor for about 6 years now. So just a bit of understanding of where I'm coming from when I talk about these issues. So Meetoo, we view as the key to whole school mental health. We've been working for a number of years now to provide supports, and today I'll cover all three of those that we have available at this time. Throughout this talk, you're going to hear a lot of different things that we do. So hopefully there'll be something of use to everyone listening to this, be you present at the moment or listening on catch up on YouTube. So the first thing we're going to discuss is Meetoo for Students. That's our longest standing offering. It's a free app. I'll go into more detail about that, do a quick demo. Meetoo Connect for Staff, which is where I focus my efforts on how we can provide better support for staff in schools. And then finally, Meetoo Insights, which is our only paid package, which actually uses the data we collect and uses the information we have to better support people in care. So as you can see, already some really key things that you might need to use or want to use in your role. Now, the problem that we look to solve, or that's present at the moment, is that there are a probable 2 million young people in the UK that have a mental health disorder. And more terrifyingly than that is the statistic that roughly 76% of young people with a mental health issue will receive no treatment. This isn't because the treatments in the UK aren't brilliant, they are, but they're overstretched. So Meetoo aims to answer that need with this solution. We're effective, scalable peer support. We're featured on the NHS library, and we're safe for use by anyone aged 11 and up. The way we work is anonymous peer support, and the reason we do that is to protect our users from any manipulation or grooming. We make sure that they keep their details private, and we make sure that no one is trying to get those details from them. We do this through pre-moderation with humans, making it safe for all users, be that in topic base or be that how they're using the app. And then there are counsellors there to support those in a crisis. We have a directory as well, which is full of crisis support. And because we've worked with so many amazing experts across the world, that is now full of useful information for young people. Now, what I will do quickly is do a demo for you, which never works well because my phone hates my laptop and they do not link nicely. So if you give me 1 second, I'll just connect those up now. So what I will do is I will show you what it looks like for a user to join or to log in to Meetoo. So here we go. Right. So when a user goes onto their phone, this can either be Apple product, Android, works on any service provider, they can open up the app and this is what they'll be greeted with. We've designed it to look and feel like social media because we know that's something young people are comfortable with, that's something they can engage with, and it makes it a lot easier in those initial stages of getting used to it. Users will come in and they can post about absolutely anything within the realms of it's safe for other users to see. And they can interact anonymously. As you can see under this post, you have the users sharing support for one another. Now, just to run you through how you actually go about using the app, if I open up the post using the button at the bottom, I can then go in and say anything that's on my mind or that I'm concerned about. So, for example, this is a tester, do not post. Now, once you hit send, you get this message thanking you for posting. And the reason we do this is because we want to up the number of young people posting in the app and up the disclosure. So by rewarding them with that thanks, that has actually been found to boost disclosure, both in the app and in real life. So what they can then do is wait for their post to go live. It takes about 15 minutes because it is checked by a real person, and that person rates it for severity. So how much need does this user have? The topic, what are the things that this user is worried about? And then that can go live. There are times where we do not put a post live. And the reason we do that is because we're trying to protect our users. So this might be the post is of a very high level need. or it might be that the post contains triggering information that wouldn't be safe for other users, or at the base level, it gives away some details about themselves. So if that is the case, the post is put into quarantine and a counsellor will then deal with it. These are very highly trained people who provide one-to-one support for those users in the highest need. And if needed, it does happen sometimes, they can then support those users to signpost them onto emergency services if needed, to make sure that they're safe and to make sure that they're getting the support they need. Moderation runs from 7:30 until 11. And the reason we do that is because sleep is really vital. We want to make sure these young people are able to get the rest they need. And if they are going to contact at 3 a.m., they're unlikely to get replies from users in the app. So what they really need is a crisis support line, which we do provide to them. Now, if we look through this feed, what you can currently see is the feed that I would see. So because I'm over the age of 18, I'm not going to say by how much, but because I'm over the age of 18, I see posts from other users over the age of 18. So if you go into the app, it's age bounded by 2 years. So you would see 2 years below you, 2 years above you. And we do this because it means that users aren't going to see things that aren't relevant to them at first, but also that aren't safe for them to be discussing at their age. Now, if we go into a post, so if I scroll back up, if we go into a post, you can see that this user has received 2 replies. So the replies, 85% come from our peers. The average number of responses that a person will get is about 3 replies to each post. 85% of those come from other users with lived experiences sharing what's going on for them. 10% come from super peers who are trained undergraduate psychology students. That's actually how I first got involved with Meetoo, is setting up that department. And they have been trained to provide a useful or supportive response. And then the final 5% comes from the counsellors. You probably wouldn't see those in the app, but what we've done by doing this is it means that there is a support available for all people, regardless of the topic. Everyone is going to get care. Okay, so the feed, as you may have noticed, also contains some information from Meetoo. So we talk to our users, we're very open with them about what we're doing with their data, but also it's a space for young people to contribute. We want this to be a community. We want this to be a place where young people feel they have a sense of ownership over it. So we have poems written by young people. If I keep scrolling, I will eventually find some artwork by young people. And we have both expert answers on, oh, it's frozen, as it always does. We have some expert answers or articles from leading clinicians, and also, that artwork, which helps to make the posts feel, or the users feel, that ownership in app. Now, my app has frozen, very annoyingly, that I used to cast my phone. So I'll show you the final step just by holding up to the screen, which hopefully you can see. Now, because we've worked with so many users, we have access to, or so many users and so many experts, we have collated that information into a directory, which if you are working in education and want access to that information, you can access very easily. But we also have a button here to add a portal, which when you click, you can then add your school, your university, your workplace. And that means that we can then work with schools later down the line in our product called Insights to make sure that they're being fully supported. So if you do have any questions about how the app works, please feel free to put them into the chat or the Q&A section, and we can go through those in a moment. Thank you for sharing the link to the app. But what I'll do now is I'll just talk you through the benefits of it. So with Meetoo, we have done a huge amount of research. So the Anna Freud Center, which is based in UCL, have done an independent study of us, and they found that we've boosted all sorts of things to do with well-being. Most importantly, potentially within education, in light of the peer-on-peer abuse report, is the fact that we boost disclosure. We help young people to share the issues that they're experiencing. So if you do have young people in your setting using this app, we can then offer them a way to safely practice their disclosure and share it. But we also listen very heavily to our user base. So that's one of the things we pride ourselves on, is we will talk to our users as much as possible. So I won't go through this data in too much detail, but I will share it with you. This is the results from 1,006 users of Meetoo, which we collected in the app. So the feeling of being able to be open thanks to the anonymity, the fact that they have access to all this useful information in the directory, and very importantly, the fact that they feel it's a supportive community. Because we moderate absolutely everything in the app, there are no hurtful messages or replies. There is only support present. And that means that the young people feel really safe making use of it. And the vast majority of our users, over 60,000 now, feel that the app has helped them. Okay. So the benefits of this are absolutely huge. And at its core, what we're offering is a free, high quality and safe support for young people. My biggest fear when I was teaching was that one of my young people who had come and spoken to me in the day would leave. And as they left the school site, they would be alone, or they would be going back into an abusive environment. And that broke me down because I knew that there was nothing I could do for them in those hours. Meetoo matches that need because the young person can download it for free. They can get on it, they can get support, and they can have access to that community. And I think that's a really powerful thing to know that that exists for the young people in your care, and for any young people you do end up working with. And as I've said, this idea that the disclosure that they make in the app can then be used to benefit them in the real world with disclosures in the real world is also really important. I think that's one of the things we really need to focus on within schools. And I know there's a huge push on at the moment, is how we can help young people come forward if they are worried. So quick poll. So this is poll number 1. So I'm going to ask if Paul can make that pop up if it's on your screen, or if you click down the bottom. My first time running with polls. So have you always known what support a child or colleague needed? So this is throughout your career. Have there ever been any moments where you go, hey, I don't know what I'm meant to do here, or where you've hit that point and you've gone, I need some advice? So thank you. The results are coming in at the moment, and there will be some times where in the environment you're in, you may not be dealing with high-end issues, or you may have, and I really hope this is the case, have received some fantastic training on how to support things. But the reality of life is we can't always know how to support with issues. And that's where the next sort of step of Meetoo's plan or journey has come in, because you'll come up against things and maybe feel that you haven't handled it in the best way, or that you don't know how to handle it in the best way. We've come out with our next offering, which is Meetoo Connect. This is my main piece of work that I'm involved in. So if any of you do have any questions about this, I can answer those. But also, if you are interested in actually working alongside us to improve this service or to build this service further, we would love you to do that. So what is Meetoo Connect? What is Meetoo Connect? It is very much the same as our current platform, but it's based on evidence. So it's not just for teachers, it's for all education staff. And in November of 2020, we sent out a survey which had 500 responses through Twitter, asking teachers and education staff about how they were feeling and how they were experiencing their role. In that poll, unsurprisingly, almost 93% of people said that the role had become more stressful in the past few years. Obviously, we've experienced COVID, we've experienced just all sorts of changes across the world because of this. So that role has taken on new meaning, and it has had new demands. And then the figure that sort of terrifies me is that only 18% of people that we polled felt supported by their school. This isn't to say that schools don't provide support, but it shows us that people don't necessarily access them or feel that they can access them. So it's something that we've become acutely aware of. In terms of talking about why this happens, if you think about the example I just gave and that poll where some of you have said you don't always know how to offer support to those in your care, the vast majority of teachers and the vast majority of education staff will receive less than half a day training for well-being. I have a 3-year degree in psychology and multiple training courses. I would not say I was comfortable dealing with all mental health issues. So when you actually look at the responses, again, only 18% feel that the training provides them the support they need. How does that impact us as staff if we know that if someone comes to us with an issue, we're not going to feel comfortable answering it? That's going to have a massive impact on our well-being. because we're expected to do the best for these children, and we can't always do that. And if you look further, this is a very telling thing, because the vast majority of staff don't feel that the school is making a large effort to find out about the mental health needs. So 8% of schools or settings, we found that they were paying for an external survey to find out how staff wellbeing was being experienced, and 35% made their own survey. But that does leave us with the extra 57% of schools where incidents are either recorded case by case, so not going out and looking for if there's a wellbeing need, or not at all. So this is where we start to make use of peer support. In my role, if I had an issue, I would go and speak to a colleague, I would reach out to someone. But there are times in teaching or times within education where you don't feel comfortable doing that. It's a high pressure job. You're expected to be a professional. You're expected to know everything depending on your role. If you're a member of the senior leadership team, there's a huge demand on you that you need to be the rock for people to lean on. So that's why we make use of peer support. So we have the Meetoo app for young people, and we have the Meetoo Connect app for staff. The reason we've put this together is to make sure that staff have a safe place to discuss those issues that they're concerned with. It's anonymous, much like the Meetoo app, and again, fully moderated to make sure that you're safe, and for schools who might be concerned about what people will be posting about on the app, if it's going to be defamatory, which is something we've talked a lot with schools about as a fear, is pre-moderated to make sure that schools are protected, that the users are protected, and that you can have this open space for discourse. There's guidance in the app from trained psychologists, and it currently is used by various people from all roles within the education setting. So it means you have a great insight into what's going on for other people working within the sector. Much like in our current app, in the Meetoo app, we have the directory where we have all the information that staff may need or want access to, and it's been heavily vetted by us to make sure it's of high use. So my current role actually has been collecting data from across the county and across universities, looking at all stages of the education profession, be that from early training for teachers across to very experienced people in all roles of admin, administrators, TAs, SLT, working with all of them to make sure that this app is of support to them and that the directory contains useful information for them. So this brings us to the next poll. If you have access to this app, which is full of professionals who've lived the same experiences as you potentially, who understand the stresses of your role, would you find this to be a comfort in your role, knowing that you could go onto the app, ask them for advice, share what's going on in your life, and have access to that directory? And if the answer is no, that's really interesting, and I would like to pick brains on why, just so we can see if we can make this something that you think would be useful to the profession. All right. Thank you to everyone who's submitting answers, and that's a very positive response that I'm seeing, and I'm glad that the work we've put into this seems that it would be of benefit to you, because I do want this to be, having worked in the profession myself and experienced the extreme lows that come with it of multiple disclosures in a week, etc. I do want to make sure that this is of use to everyone in some way. So this goes beyond the support, is our final part that I'm going to talk to you about today. So with Meetoo and Connect, both are free, both are available now. Those are for the users. We do not want to charge the users for this at all. We just want it to be available to them. But we also want to go beyond the support. We want to be able to actually tackle core issues. There's a lot of time when I've spoken to staff and they feel like these supports are just putting a plaster on a bigger issue. And whilst there is an absolute need for that, and that support is 1000% needed in schools, we want to go beyond it. And the reason we do this, thank you for raising that, David. I will answer your, I'll go through that with you in a second. We'll see if we can sort that for you. The reason we do this is because we're aware that students may not feel heard in school, staff may feel unprepared, and that as SLT, knowing where to focus efforts can seem a blind guess. You've got so many plates spinning at once. You have the statutory stuff you have to cover. You can't always tell exactly what is required or needed in your staff. And if you work in a large school as well, it's particularly difficult knowing the wellbeing needs of all the staff present. And that's where Meetoo Insight comes into play for both student and staff. So Insight is based on the fact that we have a huge amount of data. As I mentioned earlier, for any who joined late, we moderate everything by hand by a human moderator. That moderator codes all the data. So any post or reply that goes live in the app is checked, and it is coded based on severity, and it is coded based on topics. And that allows us to produce a huge amount of data, which is being used to answer real and critical research questions around mental health. But at a local level, we can give insight to schools. We can work with schools and settings to provide them a better understanding of the needs in their setting. So on this slide, and apologies for the bit of the jumble, just wanted to get as much in as I could. We have the contents of what you actually get for Insights. So Insights at the moment is run as a termly report. When a user signs up for the app, they can say which school they're a part of or which institution they're a part of. That information, again, is anonymized, but the user can go in, they sign up to this portal, and that then means they have access to more tailored supports based on their setting. So if you're a school and you have a portal set up because you subscribe to the Insights package, you can say, right, in our local area, there are these charities, we want them in the app, and we want young people to be directed to those, and we can do that. But what we can then do is we can pull data from this, and we can say, right, what's the data that we're seeing? Who's using the app from your school? How are they using the app from your school? What things are they worried about? That also includes a safeguarding report, where we can talk through any large-scale issues that you may need to be addressed or focused on. And from this, we can produce these deep dives. The deep dives go into a high amount of detail about what the issue is, how it can be supported, resources for in-class teachers, resources for SLT, and resources for support staff. So it gives you a huge package that you can use to make sure that you're actually addressing those issues in school, and it can be used as CPD. I'm very aware that not everything can be shared or disseminated amongst the school staff, because there's too much, it would be overwhelming for them. You just want to have key takeaways. And because of that, we have designed this with a narrative flowing through, explaining how you can use each section of the report for those groups. And in the bottom left, we also put together useful graphics that you can use to share within the school, be that with staff, be that with parents, students, just so everyone is involved in this setting. Now, one of the questions I do have for you that we'd like to know the answer to is with CPD. So does your in-school support and CPD change adequately to match need? So what I mean by that is SLT have to make early decisions on what's going to happen. There are times where you have to change those things, and SLT are often brilliant at doing that. But do you feel that in your school you're able to adequately match the needs of your staff or adequately match the issues experienced by your students? Because it may be that there's an underlying issue that you're unaware of, and then it comes up, and then you have to try and schedule it in, and timings can be difficult. It's a hard one to answer, potentially, especially if you're the person who's in charge of organizing this, because it's such a monumental task.
Well, it could be, Tom, sorry to jump in there. It could be that the people aren't in the fray of making those decisions about the changes that happen to the CPD because of their role within the school. So that might be why there's a hesitation there.
Yeah, okay, absolutely. Thank you. Sorry, just look up on my laptop. So with the question, just trying to get that up from David. Tried to register on the app now during this meeting and it failed to recognize your details. Absolutely not too old to register. Are you trying to sign up for Meetoo or Connect?
Yeah, it was probably just the Meetoo app.
Okay, so with the Meetoo app, if you do still want to get in, you can just click demo on the bottom corner rather than creating an account, because that way you can see the app, you can still access the directory, but you won't be able to post and reply. If you do it on Connect, then there isn't, you probably won't have that issue of, you should be able to get on that. Have you had the same issue there?
I haven't tried Connect yet. So is it age rated? Is it age rated? Because that's what I'm trying to mimic the process for our learners essentially.
Yeah. So for your learners, it's 11 to 25 is the groups we aim to support. If you are outside that age range, I'm not sure exactly why it's not working for you. You can still join, and we are looking at making a older demographic support in the future. So that should work. If you do still have issues, my email will be at the end of this. If you email me, I'm more than happy to support and talk you through. But it's pretty much exactly the same sign up on Connect that your students will experience.
Okay, thank you.
That's right. Right. So just reopen the poll. Okay, so split 50-50. The reason I ask this is because with Insights, the power it gives you is it means that you can reach everyone in your care who's using the app, find out the needs that they have, find out what they're worried about, and then be able to support them more flexibly because you have access to what is essentially very easy to digest CPD that you can send around and share. Now, over today, I've talked about these three key things. So I just want to retouch on each of them for the people who've joined late, or in case anyone did have any questions to spark their memory. So Meetoo is now offering support for students in our anonymous moderated peer support app. And that can see them all the way through secondary education into university education from the age of 11 to 25. There's no sign-up delays. There's no wait times for it. They can just download and get on. And with the exception of the issue we've seen today, it should be a fairly streamlined and easy process. Meetoo Connect for Staff, which is available for all education staff. And I do want to make that really clear. Anyone working in education has some face-to-face contact with a young person, will experience in some way a stress or a burden due to that contact, or an issue because of that work they're doing, because it is a high pressure job. It is a demanding role. So everyone in education deserves support, and Meetoo Connect is there to offer it for them. And then Meetoo Insights, which is our paid offering, where we can work with schools based on the way users are interacting on the app, the issues they're raising, to provide support and resources for the schools so that they can better aid those groups. Now, just leave you with these key points: that school is a core support to students, but you can't always meet need. That is not a failing on the school's part whatsoever, because there are so many people in your care. It is impossible with the workload we currently experience that you would be able to meet and talk with all of those students. So you have to offer them as varied a support as possible to make sure that they are able to engage. We know that early intervention prevents problems from escalating, and that's why Meetoo came about, to help prevent those issues and to mean that it's a mentally healthier environment for the young people. Because you're at the front line yourself in the work you do, you deserve care too. You are doing a huge amount for these young people and giving so much of yourselves that you absolutely deserve support. If you are interested in working with us in our Insights package or finding out more about Meetoo for your setting, you can contact us for information using the email there, rebecca@meetoo.help. And if you have any follow-up emails from today, please email me using my email, tom@meetoo.help. These slides will all be available on YouTube. So if you do want to access them, if you lose any of this information or want to rehear anything, you can find that there. But I will now open up to any questions people have. If there's anything on your minds, it'd be lovely to hear from you. As I say, wealth of experience will be in this call. So it's always really interesting for me to access that. And if you want to hear about the research I've been doing at the moment, more than happy to speak about that as well.
Thank you very much, Tom. That was excellent. That was really informative, really useful. It's been interesting. I think we've said this a number of times in the virtual staff rooms life, that mental health has always been an issue throughout our lives, but actually it sits in a very different place now. And I think schools are much more aware of the importance of addressing it in a proper, planned manner. And even literally just 2 years ago, even pre-COVID, I think there were still schools that were going to nod sagely and accept that they understand its importance, but didn't really have a clear plan. And I think it's raised the profile of it substantially, which is always going to be a good thing, simply because I think my feeling is that mental health is on a scale, isn't it? You've got 200 that have got clearly 2 million rather that you identified clearly with issues, but there are others that with all sorts of low-level issues that could early intervention and even something as simple as a support group or a new lunchtime club to join will start to address that issue. It doesn't have to be, some massive intervention every time, but the fact that it's higher up the agenda is a really good thing. But I do have one question, if I could. Sorry to keep cutting across you.
No,
the whole thing about CPD change based on the statistics. Have you got any evidence of schools already doing that are using your data insights?
So we have a number of schools who have just renewed with us, who have been using data insights for a year. And the way they view school is to address issues through PSHE lessons based on the resources that we provide and working collaboratively with us. They've also shared information with the staff based on our timely reports, which has been used as CPD to go into those issues. So we have actually seen quite a good level of success already in schools applying the information.
That's excellent. That's great. If anyone else wants to ask a question, raise an issue, make a comment, please just raise your hand and I can manage that way.
Ian's posted one in the chat, which I'll answer. How many people are working for the Meetoo organization? We currently have 11 members of staff working in Meetoo, but considering when I first joined, it was around a kitchen table in 2017. That feels quite amazing to me. And then we have a large number of moderators to make sure that there's always high level of coverage. And the super peer department, we have 80 volunteers who are always on the app, making sure that everyone's getting a reply. How many schools or students are using the product today? Well, we have over 60,000 users. So those are from the age range of 11 to 25. And that number is growing really steadily each week. How many schools are using it? We have a number of schools signing on at the moment. We're actually doing a pilot with Warwickshire County Council where we're providing Meetoo Connect, which is what I'm doing in 16 schools across the local area. And then we are steadily growing in terms of the number of schools who have signed on. Don't know the exact number off the top of my head for how many we have at the moment, Ian, but it is steadily rising and we have a very good renewal rate coming into this year. One thing I didn't. Yes. Okay. So David, just seen your note in the chat. So when you did click to verify, you were taken to a website which was Meetoo, TWO rather than TOO. The reason for that is we have just gone through a name change of we wanted the name Meetoo, MEETOO. We applied for it in when we were first setting up, but because of the hashtag Meetoo that was going around at the time, we were unable to get that. So we will be making that change soon. Thank you for pointing that out. That is on our to-do list. Is there a MAT level view of the insight data and can we schedule the report to run more regularly than termly? What we are looking at doing at the moment is how we can work with multi-academy trusts. I'm a governor in a multi-academy trust. I'm aware that it would be a very useful tool. So Rebecca would be the person to email about that. And in terms of running it more often than termly, the way we're currently looking at doing it is we have termly reports at the moment. The long-term ambition is that we'll have an online portal that you can log into, which gives you up-to-date statistics and information that you can then apply as and when you need it, rather than just termly. Paul?
So that's just raised an interesting question for me about any thoughts about flagging significant rises in a particular issue. If so a school's got the data, they've signed up for the insights, and you're now clocking, because you do all that tracking and meta tagging of all your responses and questions, whether there's a way to flag to them in a minute, you're suddenly getting a very large number of issues about such and such. We thought you'd let you know, might be a nice little additional thing. What do people think?
I agree with you wholeheartedly. That is something that we are looking to put in place on the website, on the web portal when we have it put together. Obviously, as a small entity at the moment with only 11 people, I do about 12 jobs and it's finding the time and space to do that. But we are moving into a space now where we'll be able to. But yeah, when posts flare up and there are key issues, the termly report does identify that. But I do agree with you, being able to have access to that in the moment would be of great use to schools and would be something we'd look to provide. Yes, David.
David, yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly why I was asking the question about reporting more frequently, because my view there was that if something happens at the beginning of term and we're only getting the reports at the end of the term, it's way too late at that point.
Absolutely.
So to be valuable, I think we need some kind of immediacy or alert system.
Fully agree with you there. I understand how rapidly things change within the term, and the needs present in week 1 in September are completely different to week 3 even. Yeah, fully agree with you. That is something we will look to put in place. Ian, over the last 18 months with COVID, etc., did you see any major changes in what areas of help students were looking for compared to pre-COVID? There's a lot of anxiety now around being in school that always existed, of being in place. But now that they are actually back in the environment, there was a lot of anxiety of keeping safe. One of the main things we see talk about at the moment is friendships. So obviously there's been a huge amount of strain socially in students over the lockdown because they weren't able to see friends. So friendships are at the top of their list. We have actually put some reports together which are available on our website, which are free to access. If you are interested in accessing any of that research, that is available there. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Oh, I was trying to get your website link. I didn't get that one ready, so that people had it. There we go.
Yes, David.
Sorry, another question. The thought that I'm having with this is that at the moment it looks as though everything is app driven and relies upon access to a mobile phone. Lots of schools would have a policy of no mobile phones during the school day. Do you have a web version of the product that people could log into, or that we could put a link to on our school sort of internet page that would allow students to log these issues as and when they're relevant to them?
So when we've worked with students in the past and we've had this discussion with them, there's sort of an element of distrust in some where the disclosure would be happening in school. So that's one of the things, the reason a lot of people use this app is the feeling that it is their information and it's not being shared with someone. So when we write the reports, we don't give input, this person said this or this user said this. We're saying this topic was raised this number of times. So they don't actually, a lot of students don't actually want to be able to access it on a school computer or on a website. So that's the reason we mainly we've stuck with the app, is based on our user feedback, that they are happy enough that when they get home, they can use it. Does that answer your question, why we haven't gone down that route? I do get why you suggested it.
Yeah, I think I do understand that, and I do recognise that kind of assumed confidentiality with the app. Could there be a halfway house where maybe a link to the website to allow them to access the services, and the links to services are present there rather than just the logging element?
The other services are available on the site, that they can find signposting to services if and when they need them. So that is absolutely available to them, because we're aware they may need the support. The other issue that we have is that if they are to log on to the app, it will be around a 15-minute wait before moderation has happened and before they receive a reply. So if they are in school, if they were to use it, it would have to be in designated time in a classroom. They would then be waiting to receive the reply. I can see the use in them being able to get it off their chest and know that it's gone through. But just raising that. Yes, very nice to see you've got our merch there. The original booklet with the TWO spelling. We do still provide a booklet. And if any of you are interested in accessing it, Rebecca would be more than happy to send out information to you. We have pamphlets available that you can put around the school if you just want to signpost kids towards the app. The physical booklet, which I do have on my desk behind me somewhere, but it's gone sneaking off because I walk around with it. There we go. I feel very left out now that I'm the only one not holding up a Meetoo booklet.
So I have, we helped out a good few years ago now, Tom, and helped Rebecca hand some of these out. So we still have a few left. So if anyone on the call wants a copy, if you let me know, I'm happy to send the ones I've got out to you.
And please let me know as well, because I have 20 in my living room, and my partner is growing tired of the 20 staff with Meetoo books. They are in very high demand. These are.
But do remember, I asked first. My shelf.
You can.
Yeah.
Sorry, you go on.
The only reason for mentioning it, Tom, is that for staff sometimes in schools and colleges, librarians or whatever else, whilst the website and the apps are always useful, sometimes the book is actually a very handy sort of reference material. So if Dave and Marcus and some of the other people on the call haven't got one, then just let us know and let Tom know, and we'll do it. But thanks for the presentation and the update, Tom, and it's great to see how the whole thing that sort of Kirsten and Susie started all those years ago has gone on from strength to strength, and long may it continue. So keep doing the great work.
Thank you, really appreciate it. And it has been wonderful watching the journey. I do remember, I think I was technically their first employee at the kitchen table with the dogs. It was a very different world now to where we're currently at. For those who don't know, with the book, just to go over it, it's got expert analysis on one side. So these are articles and useful information from experts. The other side has personal stories from young people. And then in the center, if you are interested, we have little information packets on certain issues that you can go through, which directs you to useful links, useful information to share with young people. So it is a very handy book, and it's a great one to have if you have a space for students to go for pastoral care. They can access it, they can read it, or staff can access it and read it if they have any questions. Thank you for raising that, Ian. Brilliant question.
So there's a question from Marcus. Have you got a PDF version of the book? I think Marcus is worried because he's based in Portugal.
I'm sure we can find a stamp big enough to get one out to Portugal, but off the top of my head, I wouldn't be able to answer that truthfully. I'm almost certain that we have a lot of information and a lot of research available online on our website. So I'm not sure if it is available in full online.
I can send you my address, or I just print one out and put it in the staff room. I think it'll be handy.
I'll make sure you get one, Marcus. I'll get one over to you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Oh, I've just opened up. 1 second. If I share my screen, this is the issue with 1 second. Me having my head in research all the time. Is we now have powered by ESU on our website. You can go through, and if I skip to the middle, there you go. All available online for you to access. So nice, easy one if you want to print out, and there are some of our partners as well.
Excellent. Good. Any other questions? Any observations?
Just share the link in chat so you can find it easily, Marcus.
No, the only thing I would say, Thomas, is obviously as the team's sort of grown, what are the sort of challenges that the group faces sort of moving forward? Is it still sort of awareness, or are there still people out there who just don't understand that these resources are available, or are the challenges beyond awareness?
In general, we have, so with the awareness, as we've grown as an app, people now have started, there are circles where we're well known enough now that the awareness isn't so much an issue. It's more, we're not quite early adopting stage anymore. So we have enough schools on board now that we know what we're doing. We've worked with them. We have a proven track record. It's just that next leap of going from early adopters to becoming more mainstream, of bringing schools on board. Other than that, the main issues we face are that as a small team, because we're doing this, we're not aiming to make a huge profit out of this. This is something we're trying to help people. Is having enough people on the team, or having people advising and joining as they can, to make sure all the work gets done, because we have a huge amount of interest. It's just making sure we have poor Rebecca, who's having to deal with maybe 30 schools at one time. Trying to get them on board. So that I would say is our main issue.
Okay, no, that's great. And obviously things that we can do to help, just keep on letting Paul and everybody know. Okay.
Thank you. Yeah. So portals for your organization, David, brilliant question. So with that, when you join as an Insight school, we set you up with your own portal. So what that means is you can say what charities you want on it, services you want on it, any key information you want present for your school, and you can customize that. that will then be available in the app, that when a young person signs up, if they put in their school, that will appear in their directory. Or if they want to add it at a later date, they can do that there. And that's what the portal is. And you can add as a school if you do sign up for the Insights package.
Fantastic. The facility to localize so the students can actually go and get help if they need to is really important, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's
And you can even add pictures of your pastoral team to that portal so they know who they're meant to go and see in person. So that can help to sort of normalize, this is the space where you get support. Here are the people you can also get support in school. Jamie.
Hi, thanks. Absolutely great presentation, Thomas. So thank you very much for that. I was just curious about whether you got any thoughts and reflections on the future evolution of the app in terms of, are there things that you're excited to build into it based on the development journey so far and on the feedback you're getting and on the trends that you see around this very difficult and complex area? I know that with my director of a multi-academy trust hat on, I'm certainly seeing an unfortunate explosion of issues in this area, which you, of course, will be far more expert in than me. But I just wondered whether in your future roadmap, are there particular features that you're looking forward to building into it where you think you can make your app even better, maybe in a new version of it, the Me3 app or something. What are your thoughts on the future roadmap of the product? I'd really be interested.
So this is where I'll have to sort of maintain composure of the blue sky thinking of where we can go is something I'm very well known for at Meetoo and kind of have to keep a helmet on. The things that I'm really excited about doing at the moment, I've partnered with the University of Southampton. We'll be working to support their trainees. So as an ex-teacher, I'm really passionate about keeping teachers in education and making it a nice space for them to be in. So looking to support people throughout their career. The idea of being able to support someone all the way through from the age of 11 all the way up throughout a lifetime, I think is a really powerful thing. So yeah, looking at developing our supports beyond what we already have, partnering, as you've said, multi-academy trusts, being able to give insights at a larger level. And then in the long run, we have so much data already, and we are fast becoming experts in this area for adolescent mental health. So Susie Godson, one of our co-founders, has written an amazing piece on the peer-on-peer abuse report, which again is available on that link, meetoo.help/research. So I think establishing ourselves more readily and making use of the data we have to make a larger impact, that's the thing I'm really excited about. That answers your question.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you. Appreciate that, Thomas.
Thank you very much. And question from me then, are you having impact at a national level? Are you now in conversations about these issues with government agencies and things? Are you at that level now?
So sadly, I don't get to be at that level personally, but I know that many of the conversations we've had, we've been invited to a lot of large events now. So Meetoo is an award-winning app and an award-winning service. So we have had a lot of conversations with these people, and we are now moving in these circles. In terms of being brought on for our advice on mental health reform and on education reform, that's something where, again, I'm sadly being sent off to my room, as it were, of I'm not currently doing that at the moment, so wouldn't be able to give you an honest answer. But I know we have been working at council level to make changes.
Excellent, thank you. Comment in the chat from Owen there.
I've just seen yours, Ian, so I'll answer that quickly. So we're viewing at a trust level. If the trust were to buy in, they'd be able to view it at a trust level. And if an individual school were able to buy in, they could view it as a school level. We could look at providing both, one for the trust, one for the school. But that would be something to talk with Rebecca about. So hello, Tom. I think having the app look like other social media is a very good idea, easier to familiarize with. Thank you. What is the turnaround time for receiving a support? Okay, with high-level issues, every 15 minutes, a moderator goes into the app and makes sure and checks all the posts so they can go live. So there's a 15-minute turnaround at the worst, and then a counsellor will be directly messaged or worked with in that moment. So we get an alert. So I've done counselling shifts myself. I get an alert. I log into the app. I will then work with that user straight away. So the turnaround time at worst is 15 minutes. If they were to post at 11 or at 10:59, the next moderation shift is 11. So they would be waiting a minute. So 15 minutes is the worst. And then with that, we will keep messaging that user, making sure they're safe. If they're not, we have worked in the past with the emergency services to make sure that that young person is getting support. So the data we collect, the email and the first 4 digits of postcode is the data we collect that could allow us to identify someone. We can share that with the emergency services, and they can then 9 times out of 10 find the person because they're typically known to them. So does that answer your question, Aaron?
Excellent. Thank you very much for that. Good. So that was absolutely fantastic, Tom. I really enjoyed that. Some really good insights. Particularly excited about the breadth of the growth that we've seen from a single app to staff app, as well as a student app, and the analytics that organizations can get. That is going to hopefully make a really significant difference, particularly if they start to use the data as you're supposed to use data to say, well, what does it tell me I need to do? Because that's the step that is often missed, isn't it? If they've got the data is one thing, but just to, what's that phrase? You don't fatten a pig by weighing it. You've got to actually do something with the data, haven't you? So if that's the impact, I think that would be a really positive thing. So thank you very much for that. Absolutely, yeah. For the parents to know that this option is available is really important, Dave. I think you're right.
The school can share that information, and most of our schools do make the parents aware we're offering this, so they can find out.
Excellent, good. Thank you very much for that. Thank you everyone else for coming along. We're a few minutes early, but we're going to call that to a close now. I'll stop the recording if my mouse will move, and hopefully see some of you at the next virtual staff room.